We all have our favorite animated character, but at one stage, they looked totally unrecognizable. One of the best things about animated characters is the fact that you pretty much have free reign to do whatever you want with them, but that can also pose some problems. What should that character be? As you can imagine, there are constant sketches and redesigns happening to almost every animated character, meaning that there are a few unrecognizable looks of some of the biggest characters in the industry. We'll take a look at some of the most shocking early designs of our favorite characters, including heroes originally being villains, villains taking after famous actors, and characters originally being a different species entirely. These are some of the best and weirdest original concept designs. Aladdin's Genie is one of the most iconic characters Disney has in its collection, ever since Robin Williams brilliantly brought the character to life. Although the look of Will Smith's Genie in the live-action version originally came under scrutiny, the blue coloring and unique facial hair are synonymous with the character, but he almost looked very different. The character initially looked far more sinister and a bit on the creepy side. In one black and white drawing, we see the character with a giant mouth and large pearly white teeth the size of tombstones with a maniacal grin etched across his face.
I must have hit my head harder than I thought.
While he does sport some of the features the finished Genie possesses, like the facial hair, it's scaled down with it appearing as a tiny tip on the character's chin. Another image shows a less creepy Genie, but still on the sinister side with long fingernails and a pair of horns, with a look on his face that suggests that he's gonna sell you some black market wishes. These images were scrapped together with Disney deciding to go with a more family-friendly image of the character and the malevolent features appearing on the film's villain, Jafar. Shrek has been an icon in pop culture ever since the film's release in the early 2000s, with him having a resurgence in meme form and causing me to be unable to leave the bathroom without kicking the door and singing Smash Mouth.
You get it! We both have layers.
Actor Mike Myers may have smashed it as the titular character, but before he was on board, comedic actor Chris Farley was initially billed to play Shrek before his untimely passing. This also means that the design for Farley was very different. The initial art shows a more disproportionate Shrek with missing teeth, a bump on his head, and weirdly big hands. DreamWorks decided to go with a different route under Myers, but even that nearly looked different. In one early design, we see Shrek with hair. Yeah, that's right. In an image, we see Shrek sporting a rocking bowl cut with a wee mid-parting in the middle. Yeah, come on, we've all had that phase.
Okay, fine.
However, these luscious red locks make him look more aesthetically pleasing and weirdly adorable, so they decided to ditch the look for a hairless scalp, because as we know, bald men in films are always the most powerful. Another iconic character that's been inspiring audiences ever since the movie's release was Elsa from Frozen, who makes you want to climb up on the top of a mountain and sing "Let It Go" at the top of your lungs. Not that I've ever done that or anything. Anyway, part of what made Frozen so successful was the relationship between sisters Elsa and Anna. But in the initial concept, they were very much at odds with one another. That's because, plot twist, Elsa was supposed to be the movie's villain. Yeah, I'm not gonna let that one go for a while. In one piece of concept art, we see her as a Maleficent Cruella de Vil hybrid as she confronts Anna, looming over with icy blue skin and what appears to be live ferrets peering out of her coat. Even Cruella didn't go that far. That look is unmistakably villainous, and just like our ScreenRant crush Chris Hemsworth, is hard to take your eyes off of. In another image, we see Elsa looking like a cold Yzma as she does what seems to be a musical number with snowmen. Having Elsa as the villain would have been more in keeping with the original story, but Disney opted to make her a more sympathetic character and moved away from the traditional villain role. Instead, Disney provided a ton of classic belters that even makes a ScreenRant narrator like me feel like a Disney princess. While there may have been a debate as to whether Elsa should be the villain in Frozen, there was never any doubt that Hades would be the villain in the Disney rendition of Hercules. And seeing as he is the king of the underworld, it's not that surprising. The antagonist may have been a force to reckon with in the movie, but the original concept wasn't quite as intimidating. Earlier designs for the character had him looking a lot more discrepant as he's bent over and hunched due to old age, but Disney in the end decided to go a different route. But before designs were being done on James Woods' character, designs were being made for another actor who was supposed to play the part, Jack Nicholson. That's right, the Jack Attack was supposed to play Hades, but this fell through as Nicholson reportedly asked for too much money.
All right, Sparky, here's the deal.
Disney, however, were so committed to Nicholson being Hades that the concept art was made to actually resemble Nicholson with his trademark smirk and black sunglasses in tow. The result is uncanny, and we can easily imagine seeing this character sitting courtside at a Lakers game. Woody and Buzz may go together better than burgers and fries, or peas and carrots, or Owen Wilson and the word wow, but that wasn't always the case. Their bromance may be one of the sweetest aspects of the Toy Story franchise, but Woody was, in the original storyboards, the antagonist of the movie. This obviously did change, however, but even before Woody did become the cowboy we know, he was still very different. His original design was supposed to replicate a ventriloquist doll with a large head and a smaller body, and his demeanor was supposed to be a lot more dry and sarcastic.
What are you, insane? We're wasting time.
More than that, Buzz was supposed to be a more slow-witted and stockier spaceman who serves as Woody's sidekick, giving them more of the dynamic of Yzma and Kronk in Emperor's New Groove. And now I kind of want to see an alternate version of the film where they turn Andy into a llama. I can't be the only one that wants to see that, right? Monsters, Inc. may now be a Pixar classic, but it went through a lot of changes throughout its conception. In an early idea, Sully was actually a monster called Johnson, and was a combination of both Sully and Mike, with Johnson being one of the worst scarers in the company and unable to even scare a toddler. Now, to be fair, toddlers are terrifying. In the concept art, we see similarities with Sully, the height and the horns, but Johnson has a different coat and a large pink nose. But as the character of Johnson transitions into Sully, there were many changes along the way. In one of the images, we see Sully with many eyes and tentacles instead of legs. Now that's a code 2319 right there. Eventually though, Pixar settled on the oversized cuddle monster that we all know and love. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one poses like Gaston. Gaston in the movie may be the burly woodsman type with arms bigger than my legs, but the initial Gaston wasn't quite the muscle-bound Chris Hemsworth-esque figure that we got. In fact, he was originally a delicate and prissy nobleman who liked to look in the mirror and powder his wig. No, that's not a euphemism. This means that Gaston probably would struggle to match Beast in a physical confrontation. Speaking of Beast, when creating the character, supervising animator Glenn Keane had trouble coming up with the finished product with nothing clicking for him. The idea was to make Beast similar but still frightening, so Keane uses real-life animals like lions and gorillas as inspiration and would mix them together to try and find that sweet spot. That means we got a lot of designs, most of which focus on a gorilla-lion-human hybrid. While some of these designs are intriguing, Disney opted to go with the look of the beast we all know, which is based primarily on the head of a bison and wildebeest. The concept designs didn't go to waste, however, and were used as some of the gargoyles that appear around the castle. We've referenced Emperor's New Groove a few times in this video, and like a majority of animated movies, their characters underwent several changes.
What?
When the movie was under the title of Kingdom of the Sun, Cusco's style was heavily influenced by Peruvian and Inca culture with bright clothing and jewelry, as well as having what appears to be a little stone monkey servant, which I kind of want to know more about. The original film centered around a trading places style plot with Cusco and a peasant changing places before falling in love with a llama herder named Mata. Yzma still served as the movie's primary villain, but she's instead an evil sorceress who plans to block out the sun to achieve eternal youth and for some reason still turns Cusco into a llama. In the concept art, Yzma looks more like a ferocious opponent with an Inca-inspired outfit and a stare that makes it seem like she can see my most personal secrets. However, the initial concept did not go down well with test audiences and the whole movie was nearly scrapped. The film was saved though, with the script being overhauled and Disney pulling the lever on the original concepts and making way for the Cusco and Yzma we now know.
Mission accomplished.
Yep. Just hearing those words make me smile. For anyone familiar with the series, your mind will instantly go to Avatar: The Last Airbender and Aang's trusty steed Appa. For many, Appa was a fan favorite, and if you're like me, made you want to use a genie wish to make sky bison a real thing. Taking influence from Japanese culture, Appa is primarily a blend of the cat bus and Totoro from Hayao Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro. But he underwent some very different looks. At one time, Appa was made to resemble a sea manatee, and there were even suggestions that Appa be a giant dog with a saddle on his back. The sea manatee bison hybrid was the one that was the most mooted amongst the creative team, with Appa having more manatee facial features as well as swirly horns. However, the horns proved too difficult to draw, and a more subtler bison look was the design that won the creative team over for one of our favorite trusty companions. WreckIt Ralph stomped its way into our hearts with its endearing moments and humor, but its longevity comes from the character progression of Ralph. While he may start off as a lumbering brute reminiscent of King Kong, he shows how soft he is on the inside, but his outside was almost a lot harder. In early concepts, he looks like a giant red ape and rhino hybrid with huge clubs for hands. Yeah, not exactly as cute as a porg. We also see him looking like a giant gorilla caveman like the white ape from Rampage before slowly but surely turning into the human-esque character that we know. It's definitely a swerve from the initial monster designs and is more on the softer, family-friendly mold that Disney prefers. So, what was your most shocking original design? Were there any that you preferred? Let us know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe to ScreenRant for more amazing content. We'll catch you next time.